think that Camp Quest UK was a great success, and this was largely down to our staff. There were 9 of us from a variety of different backgrounds. The age range was 19 to 68. We had a lot of postgraduate students, we had a lot of PhD students, and they all worked for a week with no pay. They were all interesting and committed, talented, enthusiastic, and I don't have a bad thing to say about them. They were the ones who ran all our sessions and made it a fantastic experience for the kids. So I'm really indebted to them. But the campers were also a big part of what made Camp Quest special. There were only 24 of them, but they were bright, intelligent, and curious kids. They are not the sort of kids who will, teach you. They're the ones who want to learn, but maybe are overlooked in class because they're bright, or I don't know. They all had something special about them, and by the end of it, it was really approaching something resembling a community, which is partly what I wanted to do, because there doesn't really exist any outlet for non-religious children to be involved with a community. There are obviously secular groups like this. There's nothing for kids if they're interested in exploring things from a non-religious perspective. So what I wanted to do with Camp Quest is really start to build an identity. Which was great, because by the end of the week, these kids were saying, I'm a Camp Quest camper, and I want to come back next year. It was great. So hopefully, as the years go on, it will become much more a part of their identity, and also a kind of national identity. It will be, hopefully, the sort of national body for non-religious children, and we'll have, I hope to expand some more events, a couple more summer camps. And it was really an honour to be involved with this, and be involved with these children's lives. So just to sum up, I suppose I can only say that the experience was just massively worthwhile for me, and I hope for all the dozens of campers, volunteers and parents who have been involved with Camp Quest. The media has sometimes been inaccurate, to say the least, but it's great to know that we have the support of the atheist and the secular community, and also the Daily Mail readership, because that's quite something, isn't it? We've had such great coverage that we've currently got 150 children on the waiting list for next year. At the moment, we're looking for 2 camps, to expand to 2 camps next year, because we've got a lot of support, but we're a very small organisation, so physically there's only so much we can do. And maybe we'll have about 40 children in each camp, so hopefully 80 children will benefit from it next year. If you would like to help us, you can do this in 4 ways. The first way is to donate. Contrary to reports, Richard Dawkins did not bestow his entire estate to us. So we rely on donations to keep the cost of camp affordable, and also we hope to allow scholarships, so we don't get a reputation as being a middle-class white establishment. We want to encourage people from all backgrounds to come. So hopefully we have scholarships on offer, this will be possible. The second way is to spread the word. So talk to your friends or your family, anyone who's interested, even if they're not. To be a camp counsellor. Anyone is welcome, and it's really something special, and we treat you very nicely, I promise. And the last way, which I understand maybe not all of you will want to do, is to start up another Camp Quest, because there's only so much one woman can do. And the way that Camp Quest works is like a franchise. So, I know that word maybe rings alarm bells for some people, but all the Camp Quests are run independently. So every single Camp Quest has started because someone has said, I know, I will start one up where I am. And so they've talked to the founders and they've organised it like that. So anyone is really welcome to set it up. And I would really like it if we could have a Camp Quest further north as well, because I know that a lot of people in Scotland and in the north of England really wants to come this year, but just it was too far. So I hope you've enjoyed my talk, and I believe it's time for questions.
How did you actually select your 24 students? How did they apply on a form or adverts?
We opened registrations in January of this year, and they kind of came in very, very slowly. This was when we didn't really have much coverage, and by the time the massive coverage came, we were already full. So that was really nice to know, because most of those people had heard about us through word of mouth. So it's obviously something that people care very strongly about. So it's not just, oh, I read it in a newspaper, it sounds like a good idea. It's something that they are committed to.
Have you got any publicity material that you produce?
You mean like flyers, or?
Pardon?
What do you mean, like flyers, or?
Yeah, leaflets. Sort of thing. It gives a kind of a breakdown, perhaps, of what it is to be on the staff, what it is that you aim to do.
There is certainly that information on the website, which is CQUK.org.uk. I have had leaflets, but I mean, a lot of the cost of camp, I was kind of paying for it myself until it could be reimbursed. So it's kind of like, until we have another £100 to print out the leaflets, it don't work for that. But we're going to update the website soon. There's a lot of information on there already, but we'll try and keep it up to date in the next few weeks, hopefully.
The other question was the actual cost. What does it cost the kids?
It was £275 for 5 days, which compared to a sort of regular activity centre is quite reasonable. There are some that charge double that for a week. So.
Yeah, again, it's the organisational details I'm interested in. First of all, I was going to ask about the cost, and then how much did it cost you to put it on?
The cost of it was, we charged £275. That was a little bit more than we were being charged by the campsite to rent it. So that was really, that made up some of the supplies and t-shirts and things like that. Then we had the £500 from Richard Dawkins Foundation, and the rest was fundraising. The people donating, some people donated £100, a few people donated £20. So it was really, we were kind of scraping it. And then myself and my colleague Richard, who have been very much the core of it, we've probably out of pocket a couple of £100, but over the course of 2 years.
And presumably you had expenses for food and so how did you manage feeding?
Well, the campsite that we rented from, it had, I don't know if they were any pictures, but we had these sort of army tents, and we were on a self-enclosed campsite, but it was attached to the activity centre, which had its own dining room. So the cost, everything was included. So really, they charged us a certain amount, and then we charged £50 more than that, and everything was included. So the only expenses that we had other than that were t-shirts and flyers and felt tip pens and arts and crafts stuff. So that was really how we managed it. And the food was included, so the camp staff did that, so we didn't have to worry about food, which was great. Trying to get people to cook for 24 kids was good. Yeah.
So did that the cost of that include the actual tents themselves, sleeping bags?
Well, the kids brought all their sleeping bags. We had access to bathrooms, and we had the dining room, and we had access to a couple. We had this marquee that had been set up for us to use to give all of our sessions. So we kind of rented the whole package, and then we just put on our own activities within that space. If that makes sense.
From the brief sort of talk you've given, I mean, I've got a 9-year-old child, and something I'd love for him to go to. I mean. Is there a possibility, like you mentioned, you could become a counsellor? Could parents go along as well?
Yeah, sure. I mean, in the USA, a lot of parents are counsellors. It tends to work better when the parent has a little bit. It's big enough so that the parent has some space. So it's not like it tends to work better at the larger camps. But I mean, it very much depends on the individual child, and we welcome applications from anyone. It doesn't matter if you're a parent or not.
What sort of ages children do you think?
We had 7 to 17-year-olds. We kind of started out thinking 8 to 15, and then parents came and they said, oh, but our sons do everything together, so we let 7-year-olds in, and then we had a 17-year-old girl apply, so it was a very large age range. I think we might try and cut that down a little bit.
To